bugs. Not that kind though. Video games over the years have become a worldwide form of media that billions of people enjoy every day. Many high-profile studios release games just about every year. But with every game release, whether it be on launch day or during a content patch, it is not uncommon to find bugs that have flown under the radar. Pun not intended. MMOs are no exception to this, especially because a dev team's internal testing environment can differ widely from the live service in a number of ways. But one cannot argue that finding bugs has not become an important part of gaming culture as a whole. There are thousands of videos on YouTube dedicated to the humorous moments that come from them, with hundreds more being uploaded daily. It's no secret that the main game I focus on when it comes to this channel is Guild Wars 2, which, like any other game, has had its fair share of bugs over the years. Some minor and humorous.
Look at the size of those birds!
And others pretty game-changing.
Wow, 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 wow.
Whoa.
The bugs mentioned here are not in any particular order, so sit back and relax as we cover 8 combat bugs that broke Guild Wars 2. First, we'll start off with something for all you music lovers out there. Imagine this. It's the year 2020 and the has just forced the world into quarantine, so you decide to log into Guild Wars 2 for a bit. After running around the open world for a little while, you eventually come across a champion off in the middle of nowhere, and decide to ask map chat for help. Soon, a Revenant appears, and rallies to your cause, approaching this boss with no fear. You tell him to wait, because you probably need more people for this, but quickly fall silent as you see him do this. So what just happened here, you might be asking? Well, during the week of March 15th, 2020, there was a Revenant bug that allowed them to spam click the Mariner's Horn item while in combat, to constantly equip and unequip the item. Every time this interaction occurred, it would activate the Revenant's on-legend swap traits, such as Invoke Torment, and since the equipping of this item and the trait itself had no cooldown, it allowed players to activate its effects over and over again, creating insane DPS numbers in the realm of 500k, where the normal DPS numbers for the highest DPS class is 40k. Next up, we have a classic bug that inspired an entire build, the Frostgun Reaper. Way back in 2017, there was an interesting interaction between an item called the Frostgun and a trait on the Reaper Elite specialization called Deathly Chill. This trait did not used to be very good. On release, it was a trait that simply made chill deal damage over time. It did scale with your condition damage stat, but only proc when a target reached 50% of its max HP, making the trait pretty much useless for half the duration of a fight. This was later buffed to apply its damage at all times while scaling harder, then eventually reworked to apply bleeding instead of making chill its own source of damage over time. In the February 22nd, 2017 patch, this was buffed to apply 3 stacks of bleeding per chill application, and that is when the chaos started. Players discovered that, with this trait, combined with the Frostgun item, which you could purchase after finishing a particular event in Gandharan Fields, resulted in a crazy output of bleeding stacks, making it possible for a single Reaper to reach the display cap of bleeding on an enemy. The Frostgun, for whatever reason, was capable of applying chill so fast that it procced the trait quickly enough to reach the cap in seconds. This was nerfed in the May 16th, 2017 patch through the reworking of Frostgun. For the third spot on this list, we have a bug for the dog level. Sylvan have a racial skill called Summon Sylvan Hound that allows them to summon man's best friend to fight alongside them, just in plant form. These summons are supposed to die after a certain amount of time, but in 2017, there was a bug that allowed them to live forever if the elementalist skill Rebound was casted on, preventing them from dying. Sylvari players were able to take advantage of this to summon entire armies of Sylvan Hounds. This resulted in the soloing of raid bosses. Since player summons take reduced damage from boss mechanics, players that summon hundreds of these hounds were able to trivialize DPS checks and take out encounters just as fast as a 10-man raid squad could. This was quickly patched, and as far as I know, it was patched on the day of its discovery, as I could not find any information on if it was known before January 19th. Next up, we have a bug that's actually still in the game. While I will not be telling you the process of how to replicate it as it affects the current state of the game, I will still be explaining how the bug works. In the July 16th, 2019 patch, thieves received a rework to their trap skills, which replaced them with the new category of skills called the preparations. These were AoEs that thieves could leave on the ground, and unlike traps which activated when the enemy touched them, thieves can activate preparations with the press of a button. This bug allows thieves to have multiple of the same preparation deployed at the same time, even though that is supposed to be impossible due to the skill being a flip-over skill. Each of these stacked preparations can be activated with the same button press, and if you're a Condi thief, this allows for some pretty crazy Condi burst. As of the making of this video, this has not been patched yet. At number 5, we have the Symbolic Avenger bug. This trait was added to the game on June 23rd, 2015. This was a trait that gave you a 10% damage increase to any enemy standing in your symbols. The problem with the trait was that, instead of it being something that only applied to the guardian that owned the symbol, every guardian around them also gained this damage increase. And those guardians, Symbolic Avengers, applied to every other guardian. So we were left with a situation where this 10% increase was stacking and stacking and stacking, increasing the damage of every guardian by hundreds of percentages. In World vs. World, this allowed zergs of players to destroy gates in seconds, and tower bosses even faster than that. This was bug fixed a few weeks later on July 7th, 2015. Next, we have a bug with the Deadeye Elite specialization. On July 11th, 2018, there was a patch that broke Shadow Flare. This is an ability where Deadeye throws a grenade into the ground that pulses with AoE damage. But this bug made it so if the thief was using improvisation, they were able to spam Shadow Flare over and over with no cooldown, creating many pulsing AoEs that were capable of destroying enemies with several packets of damage at once. Like the Hound bug from before, this made it possible to solo raid bosses, and was quickly patched out of the game on the same day. At number 7, we have a bug for the Ranger class that actually stemmed from an attempt to fix another bug. On May 28th, 2019, there was a patch that aimed to fix a relatively minor bug that caused Entangle to inflict vulnerability as a skill that was not supposed to. But for some reason, that patch ended up breaking Entangle even more. While the vulnerability was indeed removed, Entangle gained a new bug, a bug that converted the damage the skill summoned roots took to damage that the player themselves took, which went through damage mitigation abilities such as Stone Signet. This was patched 3 months later, on August 13th, 2019. Finally, at number 8, we have another bug from the old days of Guild Wars 2, and perhaps one of the craziest when it comes to damage output. It was so crazy, in fact, that legendary PvE bosses could be killed in seconds, and zergs in World vs. World could be decimated by single underleveled players. For some reason, the lesser Chaos Storm that was created from the Descent into Madness trait was dealing 8,000 plus damage at base, where the regular Chaos Storm did only 122 damage at base. This made it so people who used this trait could just fall on top of enemies, and this Chaos Storm that was created from it would just decimate their health bars. This bug was fixed on October 15th, 2013. With that, we've reached the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed going through the history of some of the bugs that have happened throughout the history of this game, and I'll see you in the next one.